Welcome back, everybody. Mark Whitaker here, founder and CEO of Retirement Advice. In today's video, we are going to create a retirement income map. And to illustrate how this is done, we're going to use an example scenario of a client couple, Jordan and Susie English. So the purpose of creating a retirement income map is to give us an idea of where we're going. We want to establish kind of a minimum viability standard of whether it's even possible to retire. We want to know if we have enough cash flows from our assets, from our income sources, to meet our retirement spending goal. And so let's hop over to the computer and see what that looks like. Now that we've gotten to know our retirees a little bit better, let's jump into the software and see where they stand financially in their financial preparation for an early retirement. I like to call this initial assessment a baseline plan. We create a baseline plan so that we can establish whether or not we're in the right ballpark, whether early retirement is a possibility, whether or not we need to make some big changes in our assumptions, whether it's our expectations for income, whether or not we need to retire later or save more today than we're currently saving. It really gives us that starting point where we can begin to iterate on the plan, implement strategies to improve our overall chances of success with early retirement. So first, we're going to look at the three categories of assets that we talked about in the last video. So the first thing are the assets they've already saved. Right here on the screen, you can see that they've already saved about $850,000. They've been very diligent in saving. And on the right, you can see that's broken down to a couple of categories. Both Jordan and Susie have 401k plans they've made contributions to. Susie has a Roth IRA that she saved, and they also have a brokerage investment account. That's labeled here, this joint investment account. Okay, now, using some conservative investment returns between now and their planned retirement in about 5 years, we're saying that they're going to have about 1.1 million saved for retirement. Now, when I talk about projections for investment returns, we'll talk about this more in later videos, but I like to, at least in the beginning, use some very conservative assumptions, because my thinking is if their plan can work using less than ideal circumstances, then if we have even average results in the future, then they'll be surprised, or they'll be pleasantly surprised to the upside. So this is using some conservative assumptions, and then also building in our second asset for early retirement, which is those contributions they're making today until the point of retirement. So both of them are making contributions into their 401k plans and receiving a match. Jordan also has an employee stock purchase plan, and he is through that plan making purchases of his employer stock and receiving a small discount, or a lower price that he's able to buy those shares at, and doing that directly through his payroll deductions. It's a great benefit for those that have it. The other way that they're saving for retirement is through their brokerage account, just taking money after tax and purchasing investments through that portfolio. With all that together, just to wrap it up, you can see that they're planned to have about 1.1 million in 5 years when they retire. Now let's look at the third category of assets for retirement, and those are those guaranteed income sources, or I should say very predictable, almost guaranteed income sources when they retire. Okay, so now on this page, we're going to look at income sources. First, we'll start with Susie's pension. As an employee of BYU, she has a pension that she can claim, and our projections show that she should get about $1,100 a month if she claims it at age 55. You can see this little stair step. This just shows that over time, this is set to get some cost of living adjustments, and BYU has a pretty interesting feature. It's actually a 4% cost of living adjustment. That's a little beside the point. Their second income source for retirement is their rental property, and they think that about $1,500 a month is realistic for them to be able to pull from the rental property after all of the rental expenses and use that for retirement income. Now, they've got a great history of being able to build in automatic cost of living adjustments in their rental contracts, so they're confident that they'll continue to do that once they've retired. Now, the primary category of retirement income in their situation is going to be Social Security. I'll pull up both Susie's and Jordan's Social Security at this point, and you can see that at retirement, this is showing nominally, but in today's dollars, they're both set to get about $3,600 a month once they claim Social Security. So two observations here. The first observation is that once they claim Social Security at age 67, they are going to be able to comfortably meet their income needs for retirement. And really, we don't have to worry that much about how the market does or the economy, that sort of thing, once they're able to hit Social Security age. Now, you can see for this plan, we're doing age 67. That may not be what actually even makes sense, but for a baseline plan, I like to use just the full retirement age as a starting point, and then from there we can iterate and find maybe the most ideal or way to maximize that income source. So the real question is, how do we fill the gap between age 67 and 12 years back to age 55 when they retire? So that's going to be taken care of through portfolio withdrawals. So you can see here that for the first 12 years, most of their income for retirement will come from their portfolio, and at that point going forward, they won't need to, although they could draw from the portfolio. So now that we've mapped out this cash flow map for retirement, let's take just an initial review of their income plan mapped against history to see if it stands up. So for Jordan and Susie's plan, what we have on the screen here is looking at their income plan mapped out against different economic environments from history. So Income Lab allows us to look at how their plan would have done, let's say, if they retired just before the Great Depression, or what if they retired in the 60s or 70s when there was high inflation similar to the way that it is today, this video being recorded in 2023. And this doesn't give us a guarantee whether or not their plan is going to be viable no matter what for the future, but it does give us a baseline to say, okay, I think we're in the right ballpark, that if we proceed with this plan for early retirement, we're not totally deluding ourselves. This is possible, and although we can do things to improve it, it's realistic, and so we don't need to make some major changes necessarily. What I've done is zoomed into the 1970s, but because this is a point in history that's closer than the Great Depression, and it has a similar economic environment to today based on a number of factors. You can see this light blue indicates times that are similar to our current environment. So on the screen we have a dark blue line, a green, and a pink. The dark blue line indicates our proposed income plan or their spending capacity for retirement. And you can see that whether, if they retired, for example, in 1962, it would have been possible actually for them to have a little bit higher income than what we're proposing with our plan, okay? So the green line shows what they really want to have, and then the pink line shows kind of their bare minimum that they need or they'd like for retirement. So you can see that this shaded area, which is what was actually possible during that same economic environment or during that point in history, that basically they would have been good no matter what, based on this historical analysis. This isn't a perfect scenario or perfect test. It doesn't give us a guarantee that the plan will work in the future, but it does give us a starting point to have some confidence to say, you know what, it looks pretty realistic, so now let's go to the next level and fine-tune our planning to make sure that we're as prepared as possible. All right, so we just looked at a retirement income map for Jordan and Susie English. At this point, we've established that retirement really is possible based on what they've saved up, what they're going to be saving between now and retirement, and the income sources that they already have set in place. Now that that's established, we can go on to the next steps of creating an early retirement plan, really digging down deep and seeing whether or not this plan can stand up to different economic environments. We want to stress test the plan because when we transition from our career into retirement, we don't want to have a false start. We want to make that transition with confidence. So I hope you'll join me for the next video. Until then, be kind to others, be kind to yourself, and have a great day.